What is up, everybody, and welcome to FLW Videos. In today's episode, we're going to be talking all about rare candy in Pokemon Go. Now, the reason why I'm covering this video now is because we've got Go Fest just around the corner, and I can already anticipate some problems in relation to rare candy. So number one, you're out there just raiding and not paying attention to your bag space, and all of a sudden your rare candies are just going up and take up a tremendous portion of your bag space. So it's good to already have kind of like an idea of where you want to invest those rare candies so that you can simply do it as you raid instead of waiting till the end of the day and then maybe freaking out trying to free up some space. So that's going to be the first problem. Second one is, what the heck do you use your rare candy on? Now, of course, a lot of people focus on the Pokemon themselves, but we can get a little bit more in detail than that. I'm basically going to be giving you my rule of thumb for what I specifically use my rare candies for, such as unlocking secondary charge moves, but I'll cover all of that in today's episode. And in a way for us to do this, we're going to be taking a look at my Pokebag and just walking through the different Pokemon that I'm prioritizing as absolute top options that I'm designating my rare candy for. So anyways, I hope you do enjoy this episode. I hope it is helpful. If it is, make sure to smash that like button and of course subscribe if you want to stay up to date on all Pokemon Go news and of course get tips like this. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the video. Let's start this video off with laying some ground rules for what I designate my rare candies for. First is going to be the type of Pokemon, and that's going to be legendaries and mythicals. I absolutely try to avoid using my rare candies for non-legendary Pokemon. Maybe in some just emergency situations where I'm not patient, I might, throw over 2 or 3 rare candies, for example. But for the most part, I designate it to legendaries and mythicals. And the main reasons for that is because of how expensive it is to obtain the candies for these legendaries and mythicals. And then in some mythical cases, they're not available in raids, so it's just kind of scarcity for the candy. And if you get up a ton of rare candy, you can kind of cut into the number of raids you have to do to fully power up a Pokemon up to level 40. And the second ground rule is going to be centered around unlocking secondary charge moves. 2 primary reasons. The first one is for PvP to get yourself excellent coverage. And then the second one is going to be the absolutely most efficient Pokemon you can get. A Pokemon that is extremely good from 2 different typings. So you unlock the secondary charge move and all you have to do is just flip the fast move back and forth. And you've got yourself a legendary Pokemon that is top of the top from 2 different typings, and we will be talking about that in today's episode. So those are the 2 kind of like rules that I follow. And then the third final one is do not convert your rare candy over to XL. 100 rare candies to 1 XL is just a terrible ratio, so I want to go ahead and throw out that caution. But let's go ahead and dive into the box. We'll go ahead and take a look at these Pokemon. First on top of this list is Mewtwo. And of course with these Pokemon, it's powering them up to level 40. Once you get them up there, then it's considering unlocking a secondary charge move. That's at least the way that I look at it. And I've actually got a couple different reasons for Mewtwo here, but they all fall under the guidelines that I talked about earlier. So with this Mewtwo, I end up using those rare candies to, of course, get it up to level 40 at some point in time. And then the second one is unlocking a secondary charge move. And for this particular Pokemon, it is kind of designated specifically towards Master League Classic, but I can still use it as a top psychic type attacker because it does have that move Psystrike. So I don't really lose anything from the raid side. I just end up keeping all the gains from the raid side and then gaining from the PvP side out of this Pokemon in particular. And then we can go ahead and move on to another Pokemon such as this Shadow Mewtwo. And this is going to be kind of like my designated raid Pokemon where I'm just going to use it for value on that raid side. And in that particular case, it's getting that move Psystrike, using an Elite TM, and then using an Elite TM to get myself that move Shadow Ball. And the reason for that is because with this Pokemon, it's already going to be one of the number 1 or the number 1 psychic type attackers, but it's also an excellent pseudo ghost type attacker. Of course, not being a ghost type Pokemon, but it ends up performing very well as a ghost type attacker on the raid side. So I think that there is a ton of value, of course, out of Mewtwo. I have been working on that. As you can see here, I've got one here, but I've got Shadow Ball and Psychic, so I'll eventually need to TM it over to Psystrike. But number 1 Pokemon, at least in my opinion, is of course Mewtwo. Now get out there and do as many raids as you possibly can. Get yourself a team of 6 Mewtwo if you can up to level 40. then work on unlocking a secondary charge move. Eventually, use yourself an elite charge team to get over to Psy Strike for sure. And that's going to be kind of like the priority of that. Of course, we can go ahead and go down the list. Now, I do have Kyogre here. I don't have a secondary charge move unlocked on it just yet, but it is going to be valuable on the PvP side if you can get Blizzard or Thunder. So that's going to be great there. But a little bit of a cautionary tale is that with these two Pokemon in particular, one of the biggest issues is that it's going to beat itself later on in the primal forms. Whenever the primals end up coming out, if you go ahead and invest all of your rare candy into Groudon and Kyogre and you go ahead and power it up, then that means if you end up getting a primal, the primals come out later, you may not have the candy ready to go. So some people look at it kind of like as storing candy in like a bank for the future, where you put it into Kyogre, you put it into Groudon, you designate it to those Pokemon, but you just keep it there. You end up waiting for later on, making sure you get 100% IV, or waiting until those primals come out, and then as soon as they do, you've got yourself a 100% IV or a Lucky ready to go, and you can power it up instantly. So that's something that you can go ahead and do. Now remember beforehand, I said that there were Pokemon that were worth unlocking secondary charge moves on, and then there are Pokemon that just simply aren't. At least for now, Rayquaza, for the most part, is not overly worth unlocking a secondary charge move on. Now, it ends up performing pretty good as a flying type attacker, but for the most part, people generally use Rayquaza as a dragon type attacker. It will also get its Mega Evolution added into the game eventually, but Rayquaza is a solid option to, of course, get it up to level 40. I haven't pulled the trigger on that secondary charge move. Let me know if you have, or if you've ever used Rayquaza as a flying type attacker. I would be super interested in that, but Rayquaza is a solid option. So of course we can go ahead and kind of scroll down a little bit and take a look at some Pokemon. Melmetal is an interesting one. You do have to use the Melmetal or the Meltan Box to be able to get enough candies for it, and it ends up requiring 400 candies to evolve up to a Melmetal. So there could be a lot of value in that, especially if you don't have access to that Meltan Box. I completely understand if you want to end up doing that. I probably use at least some, especially on unlocking a secondary charge move. But in this particular case, it was kind of designated specifically for PvP. So remember beforehand, I was talking about Pokemon that are extremely efficient, legendaries, mythicals that are extremely good from two different typings. Well, we've got Moltres, and I think Moltres is an extremely good case where you could go ahead and unlock that secondary charge move. You've got Sky Attack and then Overheat. Sky Attack, I believe it does require an elite charge team to get access to. But what you can do with a Pokemon like this, and why I think it's so worth designating your rare candies towards, is you can go ahead and go to your fast TMs and literally just flip it over, and all of a sudden you've got one of the top flying type attackers. You just use Wing Attack and Sky Attack, and then if you need to use a fire type attacker, you simply go over and use your Fire Spin. So I think for the most part, with the fast TMs, once you get your move kind of set, fast TMs kind of go up and up and up because they tend to be smaller move pools. So for me personally, I just kind of use it in this way because I don't really use fast TMs as often as I do charge TMs because of the kind of system that's put in place. Now we've got two other Pokemon here. We've got the Giratinas. Now with the Giratina altered form, I think that it's most dedicated towards or designated towards PvP. Not that great from the raid side. So if you are interested in getting this Pokemon, it's going to be so solid from the Ultra League and super great in the Master League and Master League Classic. So considering using this Pokemon, do it if you're interested in PvP. If you're not, then Giratina Origin Form is going to be the way to go. Now, Giratina Origin Form is incredibly good in PvP, but unlike Giratina Alter Form, it's also good on the raid side. So you get a ton of value if you can go ahead and unlock that move, Shadow Ball. And then if you want to unlock a secondary charge move, most people go with Shadow Sneak, but that's just to kind of bait out some shields and stuff with that one. But these Pokemon are super great investments from, just raid side or PvP. So I really like the Giratinas. I'm sure you do too. Going to be a great Pokemon to take down that Mewtwo. So anyways, we can go ahead and scroll down a little bit. I think Darkrai is a great Pokemon to go ahead and invest in from the raid side, but not worrying about unlocking a secondary charge move. This Pokemon is great. I do need to go ahead and get it up a little bit. Level 30, it's going to be a little bit squishy, but I actually powered it up to level 30 before we had level 50 Pokemon. So just to kind of keep up with the times, eventually I am going to have to power up this Pokemon And it could be good because it's not being featured in GoFest, and because of that, you're not able to get the candies as easily. So you may want to go ahead and dedicate it over to this Pokemon just because it's simply not going to be in the raids. A little bit unfortunate for that Pokemon. Raikou, solid option. Unlocking secondary charge move, only good for PvP. At least in my opinion. You could use Shadow Ball, but it's not going to be very helpful from the raid side. We've got a Pokemon like Lugia. That's going to be extremely good on the PvP side, unlocking a secondary charge move for that. But other than that, if you're just interested in raids, I don't think that that's going to be the most solid investment. I do have myself a 96% IV, and it has been killing it in Master League Classic. So I am excited about eventually getting enough candy. Probably top priority, of course, is getting it up to level 40. And then the second priority is unlocking the secondary charge move. People end up going with Aeroblast. So eventually that's going to be kind of the goal for this Lugia. But it's just going to take some time. And that's okay. We've got the rules set in place, so it's just a matter of time before getting those resources. And as I'm scrolling through here a little bit more, Reshiram is super solid from the fire typing, so I want to go ahead and mention that Pokemon in particular. And before I forget, another Pokemon that's worth mentioning is Dialga. Now, I actually don't know how much Dialga candy I have on my account because I simply transferred all of my Dialga the last time that I rated it, which I think was over a year ago, which is just so crazy to think about. So I have no clue how much Dialga candy I have, but Dialga is super great from that PvP side, so that's going to be one that I would highly recommend that I don't have on the list. Cresselia, only going to be good for PvP. Getting that exclusive move of Grass Knot is going to be also another kind of priority. And then, of course, Registeel is super solid from the PvP side. So you're kind of seeing how this is going, where PvP, it's very important to unlock those secondary charge moves, and then you've got the raid side out of it. Moltres, easily one of the best value Pokemon, and then of course Mewtwo, probably like a top option here. You got Zekrom. Zekrom's super great from the raid side. I don't have a super good one, I don't believe. This is the best one I have so far, but I didn't get out there and raid it too much at the time, so that's going to be something that will eventually happen. Yveltal, super solid from the dark typing. This is the best one I ended up with. I only have 38 candies for that. You're seeing a theme here. There's so many Pokemon that I want to focus on, but it's just going to take a little bit of time. Lander is super great, but I already have myself a bunch of Garchomp up to level 40, so I'm kind of skipping that one a little bit. And we're kind of scrolling through here. I'm not seeing too many other Pokemon that are kind of worth it. We've already talked about those Pokemon for PvP. I think Defense Form Deoxys is a super solid option. And then, of course, you got something like Mew, because you're not going to have it available in raids, for example. This could be a super great option to unlock a secondary charge move if you are interested in using it for PvP. That's going to be a great option with those mythicals there. We're seeing a few more through here, but I think for the most part I have it all covered, but I hope that this makes a lot of sense to you. I really want to focus on what? Oh, look at that. All right, that's pretty cool. Check this out. Just got my medal for GoFest, so super perfect timing for that. So, but anyways, I hope you did enjoy this episode. I'm personally using my rare candies on legendary Pokemon just because of the cost associated to it. Mewtwo, easily a top priority. Moltres, also a great option. Rayquaza, probably like the top 3 for me. Get these Pokemon up to level 40 and then start focusing on those secondary charge moves, not converting it over to XL candy. And those are kind of the rules for me, but I would love to know what your rules are, or your general rules of thumb in relation to using your rare candies. Definitely let me know, what do you plan on using your rare candy on after GoFest? Let me know in the comments section below. And I want to give a huge shout out to the supporters over at Patreon who have joined the Discord server. We're going to be coordinating for raids throughout GoFest, so if you're interested in doing that, make sure to check out the Patreon link in the description. Once again, thank you so much to the supporters over at Patreon, and I will see you next time.